Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Today we go down the Vikings Doomsday path. Ooh, spooky.
Hey, this is Reef Hassan from the Wide Left Substack. Sam has barred us from asking about Luke Braun's well-being, which I think bodes well.
I'm Luke Braun, the Locked On Vikings podcast. I think I'm a hot sauce guy now.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Sam also wants to go golfing this weekend. I'm only going to go if a reef will be my caddy.
What?
Yeah.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Hello. Welcome to the Minnesota Football Party on a Thursday morning. We are live on the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. You can also watch us on demand on YouTube. Please subscribe or find our audio in the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, where Luke Braun produces great content every day, or hear us on the Sirius XM app as well. You met the crew. I'm Sam Ekstrom, Luke Inman, Luke Braun, Arif Hassan, Ron Johnson joins later on. And we've got lots to get to today. On Monday, we did the episode about how the Vikings make the Super Bowl. Today, we do the episode where the Vikings stink. What will happen to make the Vikings stink? The title of today's show is, do the Minnesota Vikings get a free pass if they're bad this year? We already have people answering, no, they don't. Thank you, Coop. We'll answer that question, get into depth chart takeaways from minicamp, winners and losers of the offseason program, and as mentioned, Ron Johnson. But first, we go back to Monday, where if you're new to the show, this might seem a little weird that this is where we start, but we have to address it. Luke Braun, as punishment for his sports betting picks in the regular season, was forced on camera in a live stream format to eat devilishly hot, spicy wings, a total of 6 of them.
Yeah, not enough, if you ask me.
It could have been more. There were some
harder trivia, skill
trivia
issue.
questions that I've been ripped for.
Yeah.
Universally,
Inman, I don't know if you watched it back. We should.
I
see
did.
Inman. Oh, you
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Yeah, I did. I watched most of it. Yeah. One of my favorite parts actually came from Arif when he talked about the strategy of eating a bone-in wing. You got the angle, the lollipop method. I was dying right there. But absolutely, all in all, I thought, Braun, I thought you did outstanding. There's no way I could do all that hot sauce all at once. No way.
He was
very
we
ate hot
poised.
wings together in a previous podcast. Remember, Luke?
Okay, so you get it.
I crushed you.
Now, we really have gotten no update. We've gotten a couple vague texts, but over the last 72 hours, we don't know.
I think you can infer what I was getting at.
Well, okay, the GIF was very explicit. I will give you that. That one was pretty easy to understand. But a lot of the texts were just like 2 words, like practice starting, and that didn't really give us like a lot.
Yeah. So, I had every day I had to be up and about in the heat.
Yep.
And I'm glad that I did the preemptive Pepto-Bismol, because I felt a little weird on Monday, like right after, but it kind of hadn't hit like the pain part yet. So I didn't have to just immediately lie down until it was okay for me to lie down. Didn't have to cancel anything. Very proud of that. Didn't have to skip any obligations. And then right about before bed on Monday night, it started coming out. Boy. And then all of Tuesday was just marred.
Like
by
a Flores 0 blitz on 3rd and long. Boy, I tell
yeah.
you. Wow.
You know how like they call it Poseidon's kiss when the toilet kind of splashes back up on you? I feel like this was the kiss of Hades.
I've never once heard that.
I have, unfortunately. I do want to add that, and this is way off topic, sorry, Sam, But just yesterday, Denmark banned Samyang ramen packages because they were dangerously spicy, specifically the Bulldog spicy ×3, spicy ×2, and spicy chicken. I argue that Denmark suffers a catastrophic Scandinavian skill issue in this regard, but they bring up health concerns that I deeply had hoped had wished that had happened to Luke, right? So things like nausea, vomiting, fatigue. They refer to
None
it
of
as
that.
capsaicin poisoning, which again would have been wonderful, I think, for the viewers to see play out for educational purposes, of course.
It happened too many times. That's what I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in too many small bursts. You know,
So that-
it's like,
that-
can this please just be over with? And nope, we got another one.
Great.
And you would agree, worse, like the after effects that you're referring to, worse than the actual act of eating the wings, the heat
Was it?
you
Was it
experienced.
worse?
What would you say?
Probably the same. If I had to, like, maybe a little worse, but probably about the same.
The fact that
But it
it's
happened
even
more
the
often.
same for how spicy
Yeah.
those wings are, man. I think speaks
Yeah.
a lot of
we
volumes,
just
too.
didn't get
That's-
that many back-to-back wings is the problem. And
Yeah.
and that's on.
Yeah, I-
It's gotta
for not-
spread
And
out a
honestly,
little bit.
I would say
From
the last two were the ones that did the damage, because the first three,
Yeah, you loved the first one, didn't you?
yeah, the first one
Love
I'm
it.
keeping.
one's
I'm putting it on breakfast later.
I thought you were sponsoring it the first
Yeah.
15 minutes. I was like,
Uh,
I'm really plugging this one.
The second
and
one
then he sponsored
and
it
third
on
one
Twitter
were okay.
for free.
Yeah, yeah, it was tasty.
Okay.
The second and third one, like, they weren't comfortable, but I don't think they were like damaging me. It was the second two. So if I didn't get the fifth question, the last question, I think that would have made things worse.
Which was,
But I
again,
think the
ghost
rest of them,
pepper?
it would have been okay. No, that was the scorpion
fourth
pepper.
One,
Scorpion.
Yeah, the fourth one was good.
I had the
fifth one was
two of the ghost pepper,
Got
and I had
it.
one of the
Wow,
scorpion.
I'm surprised. that
I've
don't take
taken
you
a
to-
lot of heat
but-
for that question. Now, I thought it was a good question. Now, Inman,
Remind
you
me of
watched
the question.
It was the alphabetical one. That like the
Did you
hot,
take
like,
heat for that question? That was a pretty tough
Took heat for
question.
That actually,
People
I thought that was fair,
saying
and
it
that
was
Luke.
softball. And
No,
I,
I
thought
just
it
knew
was-
there was an Abdullah, and
Oh,
I've sorted.
dude.
But yeah,
Dude, Sam, I read your questions. I thought that was one of the hardest ones. There's no
Yeah, I
way
thought,
I would get
I
this.
thought
Are
that
you
question
kidding me?
was good.
There's
I
too many
think
yeah.
other,
Pool is
I had
other
it
questions
sorted.
Were soft though.
I had
And-
it sorted in my documents the whole time Amir Abdullah was here, so I knew, like, he was always up at the top of the list, and I was used to
Oh,
that. So he
sure.
was the first. Like, Abdullahs were the first name that
Dude,
came to
you're
mind.
one of very few who would have gotten that.
Who would
then,
have
I feel like.
documents of any
Yeah,
kind.
I feel
Yeah.
I
like
thought,
Yeah,
I thought
it's
you would
covering
be, like,
the-
I
sitting
make a
there-
daily show.
Wait, is
I
that
thought you'd be
weird?
sitting there being
Weird
like,
to have
was there
spreadsheets
like
of-
did Hank Aaron play for the
Yeah,
Vikings? Is there an
right.
Aaron at any point?
I was thinking of double A's, but then I was like, I don't think there is one, and I went with
I
Abdullahs.
will
John
say I think the first three probably were softballs though, or we should have held. Someone messaged me and said we should have punished Luke for not getting Mike Prefer on the list of head coaches, which
Oh,
the
true.
interim
Yeah.
Dallas game.
Oh, yeah. If
Yeah.
you had said 11 head coaches, I would have looked at you like you were crazy and got it wrong.
God, that's funny.
that rules
Yeah,
so
that's
hard.
good, man.
Yeah, so we should have
That's
done
good.
that.
So
That would've been
honestly,
fair
though,
enough.
too, I mean, you guys are kind of bagging on yourselves for how much time
mean,
you
my
had in
question
between
ruled, so.
each wing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like sometimes you just want to just rip right through it and get it done with as soon as possible. The
That
fact
was the
it
idea
had
of the
to be
trivia,
stretched
yeah.
out,
To make it so that I couldn't just rip through and get it over with, that I had to sit there and, like,
right.
experience the spice.
You had to sit in the paint, and then we kind of just made you sit there after the worst part and not get milk, and we just like kept the show going for 10 minutes.
No, I knew I could have gotten up.
No,
I knew I could have gotten up, and then it faded at a certain point, and I was like, whatever, I'll just end the show.
Did your mouth like tingle afterwards? Did your lips burn afterwards? Was there?
I mean,
saw how red
the
they
whole
got.
time, yeah.
okay, they were dying. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the worst part.
It's
Some
still-
part of the worst.
I'll
looked
say
like
it
he had
still
gotten-
feels a little raw. Like, even on a few days later, like, my tongue still feels a little bit like right after you like chew on an ice cube, and it feels a little bit like not numb, but like a little desensitized. I
Yep,
still
yep,
get that.
yep.
The taste buds have been singed.
Yeah.
I mean, he clearly did damage, right? Like the lips look like he had taken a little bit of filler, like he had gotten a little bit of filler, and then applied lipstick. So it was like pretty bad.
Hey, I'm in North Hollywood.
And he
already.
got like a
Real
bad
Housewives.
tanning bed experience, kind of as well.
Yeah,
Like
Real Housewives, real
Yes,
podcasters.
exactly,
So do you have a newfound respect for the show Hot Ones now when they all go on there and eat those spicy wings like that?
No, you heard him, didn't you?
No,
I don't think we taled about that on it. I think we talked about that
Oh, was it
beforehand.
on air? Okay, that makes
Yeah.
more sense.
No.
No, they're performance enhancing substances. I think
Yeah,
is what Luke is
they're
getting at.
cheating, I think.
They're cheating. Okay, fair. Well, definitely.
It depends on who. Not all of them.
No, I was gonna say definitely.
Elton Brown wasn't cheating. I'll say that.
Who?
Elton Brown.
Yeah,
He
that
wasn't
tracks.
cheating. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
well-
some people definitely bend the rules for sure. You can tell on there for sure.
Well, this has all been very
some
insightful.
rules.
Braun, thank you for being a good sport, and thank you everyone to watching the video, which you can find on our YouTube channel. And
So should that
speaking-
be the punishment? Do you think next year as well, or we got to switch it up? Braun, I'm
Well,
gonna
we were
let you
talking about a
answer.
roast.
The
I've got
roast
other
is a good
ideas. There's
idea.
the eggs thing that went viral.
Eggs?
Eat your age in eggs in one waking day.
Oh,
eat,
no.
Oh,
eat
wow.
what? How many?
Wow.
That was
Oh, your
it was
age.
a viral
Age.
thing around fantasy loser season, and it was to
Oh, no,
eat.
you're right. I remember this.
Yeah,
Some
to
people
eat
were
your
saying-
your age in eggs in one waking day.
I
yeah,
feel
and
like
some
we've
people were
all
saying that was like
talked about
easy
this.
work, and I
It
don't
was
think
easy work if you're like 25, but I think if you are in your 30s, it gets harder.
Maybe hit
The
a
roast
threshold,
idea,
maybe
as
hit a
Maxwell
certain point.
points out, roast idea easier to execute for the fans' entertainment than the egg thing. Like the egg thing
Fair enough.
Yeah,
is
the
kind
egg
of
thing,
just
you
a very
have to, like,
personal
check in later.
mission that you go
Yeah.
about during the day. There's no public embarrassment.
Right.
I also like somebody having to do an open mic stand-up comedy.
Nope.
Oh yeah,
Not
that's
happening.
that
All right,
was
so-
one of
Ooh,
our
Arif
loser,
hates it. Let's do it.
that was
So-
one of our loser
Not doing it.
punishments
We
in our
tried
fantasy
this.
football
Yeah,
league.
we tried this, and this is probably 5 years ago, and the winner. I'm not going to throw people under the bus. The winner just wasn't very funny, and
Oh.
the routine it kind of was a clunker.
Well, the whole premise I thought for us
Is that
in
you
our
got a
fantasy
bomb.
football league was that we get to write the content. We get to write your material, and then you have to go up on stage. Haven't read it before. You get up there, and you're like,
Oh, it's like that SNL bit.
yeah.
Oh,
Now, obviously, certain
actual comedy
parameters
club.
can't be insane. Can't be, obviously too outside the box. But that way, we, there's another element of surprise where it's like this guy has no idea what he's about to get up there and say. Or what was the other besides the egg one? It reminded me of this one where you have to go to like a pancake house and eat a pancake.
Oh
an
yeah, the
hour or
Waffle House
something.
one.
Yeah,
You
something
have
like
to
that.
spend 24 hours in a Waffle House, and
Yeah.
you
Oh,
get 1 hour
yeah.
off for every waffle
I like
you
that
eat.
one. I like that one.
Yeah,
too.
no, I saw the live tweet of that. That was really entertaining.
Yeah.
Again, not one great for video or podcast audiences, but
Right. Well,
Wait,
you'd
tweet.
live tweet it, and that would be the format. Like, I mean, last year we made a whole separate video. This time we just did it like it. I don't think we have to stick to the same format.
no, that's true. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, speaking of all of our talk about toilets, what if the Vikings season goes in the toilet?
Great
the
transition.
the Doomsday. Yeah, I'm all about the segue. The Doomsday path for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I would pose the question, and I think it's a legitimate talker. Do the Vikings get a free pass if they're bad this year with the bridge quarterback, who nobody really expects anything from, and a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy? Luke Inman, do the Vikings get a free pass if they go in the toilet this year? And looking down the road, I think expectations would certainly ratchet up in 2025. But 2024, if it goes down the wrong path, is there really any pressure?
I think it depends on where and how they struggle, right? JJ struggle. Is it all just a quarterback problem? McCarthy needs maybe just more reps under his belt. Like, do you see enough flashes? Do you see the vision? Does he look like he can be an NFL quarterback with some more grooming, some more time, some more development, things like that? You just got to tweak some things, and he just needs more reps, right? Because if that's the case, then yes, I think they would get a pass. CJ Stroud rookie seasons, once a decade, once a blue moon. Rookie quarterbacks almost always struggle. Everybody likes to go back to the Peyton Manning example of that. But if we don't see enough flashes to feel really good, right, to feel encouraged anyways about year 2, year 3 and beyond, I think it might be a long off season, I guess, with a lot of debate about, was he the right pick or not, especially if, God forbid, like Bo Nix made like the Pro Bowl or had like this unbelievable rookie season. Can you imagine? Probably not going to happen. But, there are a lot of different factors in there. Does he show enough flashes, though, J.J. McCarthy specifically? And, if there is a doomsday path as well, like what are the other variables? Did the defense regress? If so, in what ways? Was the team injury plagued? Did guys or starters just not live up to their expectations and they underwhelmed? A lot of different variables, but I think ultimately they would get a free pass if J.J. McCarthy, again, did show enough flashes that got you excited and encouraged.
Arif, your thoughts?
I don't know much to add to that. I think that, we generally ask a version of this question most years, like, hey, do they get a pass, or what version of this, or what circumstance would you be okay with this? And it obviously, like Luke said, depends on the circumstances, how it happens, right? If it happens because Sam Darnold struggles and then they end up having to bench him, and then J.J. McCarthy goes out there and he looks okay, but he largely struggles, and they get like 4 wins or something like that, I don't think anyone's that upset if like the defense looks like it's I don't know if improved is the right word, but has made strides, I guess, is better, because like obviously the defense was like extremely good for a good chunk of last year, but feels fluky. So how the quarterback situation progresses, what the injury situation generally looks like, whether or not you get TJ Hawkinson back sooner rather than later, that kind of thing. Like, that's all going to matter. If we end up seeing, like, Justin Jefferson underutilized, right, then we'll have reasons to complain if the season goes sideways. Obviously, if they win games while Justin Jefferson goes underutilized, like, who cares? But
people will still complain.
I mean, yeah, people will still complain. You could have won even more. But
you're winning, but wrong.
Do it better.
It ruined their drafts.
Win better. What?
How? Win in a way that's more exciting. I feel like this happens in soccer all the time, where a manager starts winning a ton and people are like, it's ugly football. They're like, okay, I don't know what you want. But
I mean, beating the Raiders 3-0 wasn't exactly sexy, but you're gonna take it. You're gonna take it.
People are really mad about that, because if they lost, they would have been like higher in the draft. People are like furious about that game. It's like they were literally holding on to a playoff spot in that moment. Like, they were in the 7th seed.
Yeah, and that's different, right? Because there's a difference between winning ugly and winning when you quote unquote shouldn't win, right? And they're upset about the second, right? The first, I think, in football, we're just a lot more comfortable with winning ugly. So it's not as big of an issue. But yeah, I mean, like, the way that the Vikings have a bad season would be how you would talk about, giving them a pass or whatever. Also, like, what does it look like if we don't give them a pass? If they go 0-for, are they firing Kevin O'Connell? Probably not.
That's the thing. The coach and GM feel like they would not even be on the hot seat. I don't think. No. I think it would take a lot. It would take a lot of mismanagement and GM malpractice, coaching malpractice for them to get in that position. But I do think that 2025 does need to be circled as you are a contender kind of year.
You have to be like serious now.
Yeah.
But I don't think you guys are thinking bad enough, though. The real doomsday path is J.J. McCarthy gets in.
He just asked if we got a pass, not what the doomsday path is.
If they get a pass. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Give me the doomsday path. Let's pivot to that.
Yeah, give us that.
Okay, yeah. So here's the doomsday path. Sam Darnold sucks. Right. They start out like 0-3, right? So immediately a whole bunch of Vikings fans can't even be excited about the season and start rooting for them to lose for draft position. Then J.J. McCarthy comes in because Sam Darnold sucks.
Not Nick
He
Mullins?
plays.
We don't. Is Mullins going to make the team? So Hall.
Walk with me.
What?
No.
Okay.
J.J. McCarthy comes in at some point in the season. He plays one half, and it's okay. It's up and down. It's controversial. It's like 20 reps.
Right.
Achilles tear.
It's like Jared Hall against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, it's like Jared Hall against the Atlanta Falcons and then against the Packers, right? Where it's like there's some good, there's some bad. We can argue about it, but it's a tiny sample. And then bam, Achilles tear, and we don't get to see him until halfway through 2025. And then we just have to sit and argue about those 20 reps for like a year.
Oh my! That's
doomsday.
So yeah, okay. So the doomsday
this is my personal doomsday.
Yeah, so the doomsday is for us, not for Vikings fans, but for us. Great.
Right,
fantastic.
for our personal football experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. No. Obviously, I think any doomsday scenario that implicates people who have to talk professionally about football would be one where J.J. McCarthy is up and down for about 20 reps, too small a sample to get anything meaningful. I would add that he would also have to look stellar in the preseason, so we can have that argument too.
Right. And then people can be like, it's just preseason.
Yeah, Teddy 2016. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or any extreme result. If he looks terrible in the preseason too, I feel like that
Also
gets the same thing.
But
More
I think,
likely.
I think the thing that I'm thinking of is kind of what actually happened with Jordan Love, which is that JJ McCarthy is third on the Week 1 depth chart behind Nick Mullins, right? Which Jordan Love was behind Tim Boyle, and that feels like more embarrassing, I think. But whatever, right? But yeah, it's Nick Mullins second on the depth chart, and then that matters, right? So like Sam Darnold gets hurt, Nick Mullins plays, and he's up and down, but he's up and down for about 200 snaps, and so you don't know what to do with it, right? It's like, oh, he's got 400-yard games, JJ's getting 200, also 8 picks. So what do we do with that, right? And I think that would be, more frustrating. And then McCarthy comes in and does the 20-snap thing. And then you have to debate whether or not you want Sam Darnold or Nick Mullins to finish out the season, which is 2 debates, right? Who's the better quarterback? That debate sucks. Also, do you want the better quarterback? Do you want to win games?
Right.
That debate also sucks.
Right.
So to me, that's part of it. I think also a very volatile defense. So one that gets a lot of turnovers.
Yeah,
but
I was going to
also
bring that up.
Gives up
Yeah.
tons of yards.
Yep.
And so you're just like, okay, but are they giving up points? How do we handle this?
Yeah.
Pretty good against some good offenses, pretty bad against some bad offenses, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to, like, the quarterback whole situation is so volatile. That almost feels too easy. Like, that's the obvious A-top. Well, it's the obvious A-top. When you talk about Doomsday, yeah, it's probably going to come down to the most important position in sports, and Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy and even Nick Mullins we're talking about now, all with this quarterback carousel. But the defense, I'm glad you brought it up because, like you said, Jekyll and Hyde last year, week 6 through 13, they were phenomenal. The last 4 games, they averaged like 30 points per. I know the cornerback room was like hanging by a thread at the end, but it feels like the defense. I mean, that's definitely a huge component of this season and how it plays out. Like, can this defense carry them, kind of keep them afloat, I guess, a little bit while the offense figures things out, goes through all their different trial and errors, their ebbs and flows that first month or two? Because if the defense isn't up to par, or maybe Doomsday, the NFL finally figures out this Flores scheme or something, that would also be a Doomsday scenario for sure. The defense isn't a top 10, top 12 unit like we hoped it would, while the offense is a work in progress. That at least first month or two, offense doesn't have TJ Hawkinson, their third passing weapon, until sounds like, I don't know, week 7 at the earliest, it sounds like right now. The interior offensive line's got a lot of question marks. I know they got to figure out this running game and take some pressure off the quarterbacks. What if Aaron Jones misses 8 games instead of 5 games? Now he's out half the year. Does Ty Chandler figure out how to be a 3-down back yet? There's a lot of different Doomsday scenarios here. But yeah, obviously it starts with the quarterback and what Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy and all that looks like.
I think because
let me add that we can throw in for every position the Nick Mullins scenario I just described. So, for example, Ken Nwangwu sees the field, rips off 2 20-yard runs for touchdowns. His average yards per carry is 6.0 or something like that, and he's awful. He's just bad.
And then he never gets back.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. So, like, that happens. Or like Jordan Addison has a super up and down season where the only thing he does are like deep bombs, but he can't run a route or something to save his life. So like all throughout the roster,
Kyrie Jackson has a pick to end the game, a la Cam Dantzler, but for the other 98% of the plays during the game, he's just not good.
Yeah, he just feels like a rookie year Trevon Diggs, right? Where you're just like, oh my god, he gave up more yards than any other cornerback in the NFL.
But
I
think because of the conversation we had about like giving them a pass if the season is bad, like it has to be bad in a way that like impacts the long term, which is why like a quarterback injury that impacts JJ McCarthy's development, or like regression from a player that we kind of thought was a sure thing. Something that like brings up questions and affects next year, because it does kind of feel like we're just kind of taking one off right now. Rookie year. Whatever happens.
Because they are set up so beautifully for 2025. They've got, like, if you look at their key players at virtually every position, they've got the core back for 2025 except for the secondary. The secondary might still have to get remade a little bit because you lose.
Well, that's not so bad a thing.
Griffin, Murphy. That was a hybrid of the two. Bynum is a free agent, might get extended. Harrison Smith
Booth gets
we don't
cut
know.
and free can
year to year. Maybe it's Lewis Seen's
Booth and
time,
Seen.
but
Wow.
the point is that 2025 ample
leading
cap
into that
space,
piece.
everybody back. You really want to be ready to go into that season full steam ahead. So a quarterback injury would derail so much of that hope and would impact the way that you approach free agency, I would think. I don't know what, if you just do the bridge thing for one more year, you bring back Darnold, but that would get messy. That would get really messy. And I think that Braun is kind of spot on with that is easily the doomsday scenario. But also, if you have to answer the first question, if that happens, you do get a pass if you have quarterback injuries. That's the ultimate pass, I think, that coaches get. Let's get more into this.
We just got a good comment from PHTNVL. The injury path is less disastrous to me than a player being out there and looking totally incapable of handling NFL play.
Yeah. You can still learn stuff. Like if you don't have some, like, you can develop, right? Like Jordan Love developed. You can develop, but if you're hurt, you can't develop. That's, I guess, what I'm getting at.
Yeah, like, do you like where the Panthers are sitting? Like, the Panthers just had a historically bad year. Their quarterback looked awful. Was that a net positive? We don't know.
Right. And with the Panthers, like,
than Bryce Young being out 14 of the 17 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if I had respect for the Panthers, I could say, well, it's, just their rookie year. He's developing. There's all these other factors that maybe it wasn't Bryce Young's fault. But I don't respect the Panthers, so I don't care.
Yeah. And they'll chalk it up to that. But in the same breath, they would have taken Caleb Williams probably if they'd had that pick. Let's get into winners and losers of the offseason program as well when we return on the Minnesota Football Party. Game Time brings us today's show. That's how you get into the NBA Finals, and there might be only one more game if you're in the Dallas area. Maybe Luka doesn't foul out. Maybe he sends it back to Boston. Maybe you can get into Game 5, see the clincher at the Garden. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to tip-off, whether it's the NBA Finals or whether it's a Twins game at Target Field or a Lynx game at Target Center. The Lynx could win the West in the WNBA. Make sure to get in that building and watch the hottest team in town right now. With Game Time, they've got zone deals, flash deals, last-minute deals, all saving you money when you download the Game Time app. And the lowest price guarantee, where Game Time credits you 110% of the difference, they're giving you money. They are just handing it out to you. They've got great customer service. It's very easy to use. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets or other tickets in town with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I'm going to combine these two questions here in the Minnesota Football Party. Hey, please subscribe, by the way, Locked On Sports Minnesota. Get us to 8,000 subscribers. Off-season program basically done for the Vikings. Alec Lewis published his depth chart at The Athletic. Or do I call it the New York Times now? I don't know. I think I'll still call it The Athletic. Just like I call X Twitter and always will. So if you combine, the depth chart from Alec Lewis, what you've seen, what you've heard, give me either depth chart surprises and then maybe marry that with some winners and losers of the entire offseason program for the Vikings. Anybody, shout it out.
No, I'll start by starting as a former Athletic employee, no longer employed by them. I have free reign to discuss my thoughts on the matter. And it is...
Get ready, Alec.
...disgusting to me that they changed everything to the New York Times URL. I can't believe that.
And like the font, like the typeface now is all very
everything
New York
is New York
Times.
I can't stand it. Which has nothing to do with the New York Times, which I can't stand for completely different reasons.
My Wordle is New York Times. My Athletic is New York Times. Everything is New York
taken over.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, from a depth chart perspective, like some elements of note, or like that Andre Carter is like buried deep on the depth chart. He's behind, I believe, 2 undrafted free agents from the projected depth chart that Alec put together. We have to be careful to understand that these are observations that Alec is making based off of rotations that he sees in camp, and sometimes that can be difficult or not that meaningful, and also it's even before training camp. It's just mini camp, so things can change. But one of the elements of these kinds of the depth charts is that rookies eat last, usually. And instead, we're seeing players like Andre Carter behind a couple of rookies. Not that Andre Carter was good last year, and I left him off of my 90-man projections, I want to say, or at least one of my 90-man projections from last year, because it didn't seem like, or 53-man projections, I should have said.
I was going to say, whoa.
Yeah, 90-man. Whoa.
They were really mad about that.
Because it didn't make a ton of sense to me. So that matches. I will say the thing that stands out the most, though, is that among the safeties, Lewis Cine isn't just not a starter; he's dead last.
Yeah.
Well, to that point,
and it's
too,
the same group, by the way. The same 6 that were on the team. So
Right.
it tracks with what happened.
Really
year.
with the depth chart stuff. I mean, we talked about Shaq Griffin a couple weeks ago, kind of working in with the ones. So not a ton of surprises as I scroll up and down the depth chart stuff. Couple notes though, to your point about Lewis Cine being dead last in the safety group. How about the entire 2022 draft class, which obviously we've spent plenty of time ripping on already, but Andrew Booth looks like a definite maybe cut candidate. Lewis Cine as well. Brian Asamoah is still the 4th linebacker right now anyways, behind Grugier Hill. Even Evans right now, the 4th cornerback right now behind Mekhi Blackman, and again, Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy. So that 2022 group, even they talked about Dalton Reisner in here, not just competing for the left guard spot, but potentially the right guard spot as well with Ed Ingram.
That's interesting. I
mean,
that's
that 2022 class, I guess, obviously, we've spent enough time ripping on it, but boy, it just keeps getting bleaker and bleaker. One question I do have for you guys, TJ Hawkinson, let's say he starts on the pup. Okay, 6 weeks minimum. And I'm a defense playing the Vikings offense. If I just want to double bracket JJ and Addison, who's the number 3 weapon in this passing game that strikes some fear in me that I think maybe could pose some sort of threat? Because right now, obviously, we're talking about Brandon Powell as the wide receiver 3.
Yeah, you're not going to like the answer to this question.
Well,
the answer to this question
concerns me. That's my point. Yeah.
The answer to that question, I don't know how you feel about it, but Alec kind of pointed it out. It's Bob Tunyon.
Yeah,
it's backup TJ Hawkinson. He's had a good spring. He's the winner, right? If you want offseason winners, Tunyon's one of them. Yeah. He's probably I don't know. Alec didn't put him any higher on the depth chart than you kind of would have expected him. He's still 4th behind Johnny Munt, but it kind of sounds like that might be trending away. And it's just that in OTAs, there's not going to be a lot of depth chart usurping. And it's kind of not what that's for. And O'Connell even said, the first 2 weeks of camp, that's when we kind of make those decisions. So whatever the depth chart is after the first 2 weeks of camp, it's probably what it is for the season.
Yeah. For how much?
I don't hate that it would be Bob Tunyon. I mean, I don't love it, but injury and all that.
Yeah.
It would be very funny to me if Josh Oliver finally realized the receiving potential that everyone talked about when he was coming out of the draft, because that's all he was.
That's all he was at that time.
Yeah. And it would be very funny to me if he was on pace for a 50 reception season this year, just because it's hey, he finally relearned how to catch. How exciting.
Yeah, he should have opportunities, but every time we assume and think, okay, now it's time for Josh Oliver, this $8 million tight end, to step up, it's all Johnny Munt, and now, early in camp, it's Bob Tunyon. So I'm just
Josh
picturing,
Oliver time.
We're talking about doomsday scenario. I'm just picturing 3rd and 12, Sam Darnold drops back, JJ's doubled, Addison's doubled, Hawkinson's not out there. It's another dump off to Aaron Jones, and hopefully he can make a linebacker miss. It's just
3rd and 12.
The third.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. 3rd and 7. Whatever.
I would really like if Jalen Naylor won that wide receiver 3 job. I just think there's more upside there than you have with Powell or Sherfield.
Why do we all hate Brandon Powell? He's so
Powell's
nice.
fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine. Okay.
Feels like a wide receiver 4, not a wide receiver 3.
There you go.
I guess
Perfectly
that's it.
said. Perfect.
Marginal though.
Yeah,
kind of.
It's a marginal. It's whatever. It's
If
I wish they got another serious receiver in the
if
building.
you lined up all the wide receiver 3s, would Brandon Powell be in the top 5? Absolutely not. I just like him. That's all I'm saying.
I like the guy.
Yeah.
All right. He talks
like
about
the
bringing in a guy like a Hunter Renfro, just for example, though. I don't know. I still don't know a ton about Trent Sherfield, maybe. Malik Knowles was my fun kind of
there's
sexy
a
wild pick.
card, I think.
There's some names in there. Thayer Thomas. Sam, you came back from camp last year, said he looked intriguing as a developmental inside slot guy. So there's names back there, but one of them I feel like it would be really ideal, especially those first 6 weeks with no Hawkinson. Potentially. We don't know for sure, but feels like it's trending that way. Boy, it would be really nice if one of these guys, even if it was Tunyon or Oliver, whoever, they need a third option, though, in that passing game.
Do you think we could, like, move Lewis Seen to receiver? Do you think that's...
Oh, that'd be fun. Dude, who did the Lions draft that safety from Utah? Was it Utah?
Godwin Ikwebuike?
Vioke?
Yeah.
Running back.
Yeah. He did play running back at Utah.
He did
as well.
play
He
running
played
back,
both safety and running back.
Got drafted.
Incredible.
Personally, thought he was a better running back than safety. I feel like the entire draft complex disagreed with me on that one, and so they're probably right. But I didn't really like him.
Well,
at
the
safety,
Lions think
so.
you're right now. They moved him to running back, so.
Yeah, it feels good. That's the second safety they've moved to running back, I think, right? Isn't Ikwebuike originally a Lions guy? He was a safety moved to running back?
Ooh,
interesting.
I don't know.
Sam Darnold, offseason winner. He's basically not been
Yes.
challenged, probably won't be challenged. A lot of nice things said about him.
When you put together the show notes and you're like, pick an off-season winner and loser, my first reaction was, that's an absurd practice built entirely out of a lack of news. My second reaction was, yeah, it's probably Sam Darnold. Just given how they talked about him and how much faith they put in him and how much they essentially solidified his status as the number one guy. It's he could lose the job, but he probably won't. It seems to be the general theme.
It doesn't seem like J.J. McCarthy is really competing for the job right now. His goals are different. His goals are improving himself and growing and developing and all that. And it doesn't seem like gunning for the number one job is like really on the table. And that's not like an indictment of him. It's just what the plan is. It's just
KOC on Rich Eisen with some pretty transparent comments about how they're slow playing this. Like they want him to have a really strong foundation to where, and that tells me too, like how chagrined KOC probably was dealing with Jaron Hall and Josh Dobbs last year, was that they had like no foundation and they had to go out there and kind of looked bad, except for the 2 games of Dobbs mania.
Dobbs sanity, baby.
If you're competing for the starting position, you need to be the best player right now. And the development path for JJ McCarthy is such that he has to get worse before he gets better, because he's reworking his mechanics. And the process for that makes you worse for a little bit, in the hopes that eventually you'll get better than where you were, and you'll reach your potential. You'll unlock kind of where you could be. And so relearning essentially how to throw, right, with accuracy and anticipation is a lot. And so that doesn't leave you room to compete for a starting job. A lot of the ways that we talk about football are very baked into these simple binary mindsets of like, you always got to compete. You always, like, competition creates the best, whatever. And, like, yeah, abstractly those are true. But there are always these situations like this one right here where it's okay that the goal for McCarthy right now, in fact, it's better that the goal for McCarthy right now is not to immediately compete for a starting job, because that's actually not how he gets better. It's to make it comfortable for him to continue to take risks. And you can't be the best player if you're afraid of making mistakes early on.
An extremely brief pause, and then we bring Ron Johnson into the show. He's getting settled in on the Minnesota Football Party. I told you it was extremely brief. Also, check out our full lineup at Locked On Sports Minnesota. We've got the Ron Johnson Show on Tuesdays. We've got the Minnesota Basketball Party on Wednesdays. We are here Mondays and Thursdays going live, and then the roundtables on Friday with Julia Daniels and Reggie Wilson of Care 11. Ron Johnson joins us every Thursday. I think he's ready, and we'll bring him in now. Ron Johnson, at 3Ron Johnson on X. Welcome into the show, Ron. We always love our Thursday chats, and let me jump in right away and ask you kind of our biggest question of the show. Because the Vikings have really reset things with the quarterback situation, is there a free pass given this year if they struggle? And there's probably different, levels to what struggling means, but is there a little bit of pressure off this year because they are resetting things?
No. I mean, Sam Darnold is a third overall pick in the NFL draft. Kevin O'Connell, I mean, when you talk about take lemons and make lemonade, he did that with Jaron Hall, with Nick Mullins, and with Josh Dobbs. He created like a ridiculous buzz in the town. So if he can't create a buzz with a third overall pick, I'm going to be very concerned about the direction and then how soon do you get J.J. McCarthy in there. But I think if he does switch to J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold struggles, then yeah, people might give him a pass because now he has a rookie. But if Sam Darnold goes the stretch of the season and, maybe due to injury or something, no, I don't think there's a pass that should be given.
Mini camp done, Ron, so training camp will be here before you know it. Is there anything you can say unequivocally that was better at the Mankato training camp setting than TCO? Or outside of just like the nostalgia of Blakesley Stadium, did they make the right move? Do you miss Mankato at all, having training camp over there or not?
No, shout out to TCO, by the way. I mean, I didn't want to give free promotion, but I'm at TCO right now. My daughter's getting her cast cut off, so that's why I'm gonna be pretty brief as we wait. She's in the room now, and I was hoping to get on sooner, but I had to download the app. So there's a StreamYard app, by the way, people. Safari no longer wants to act right. You have to download the app, I guess. I did not know that. But when you look at the TCO versus Mankato, honestly, I love saving the drive. I hated driving down to Mankato personally. For me, it's a 20-ish minute drive to Egan. I think you do miss out maybe on a little bit of the city fanfare because people did actually go up there, stay in hotels, spend a day or two up there. I think, Vikings Lakes or whatever it's called over there, Omni Lakes. I think they're trying to get that atmosphere, but people just live too close to feel like they don't need a hotel. Mm-hmm. Other than that, no, I don't think, there's not much I miss. I guess there was a little bit more closer player reaction or interaction because they had to walk through us to get to the field. Now you don't have as much. I mean, you could stand in the way if you want to, but Chris Tomlinson's gone, so nobody wants to be that awkward anymore. So like most human beings, we all just kind of wait off to the side and let them get to practice like we would without bothering them. Other than Chris Tomlinson asking a weird question about Prince or something, or we at Prince's house last night. But no, I don't think there's much difference, to be honest. I think it's closer. I think over time, people probably appreciate being able to go to the Mall America in between practices and stuff like that. So eventually Egan's going to continue to grow. You can see they're building more restaurants and Caribou's, and there's Jimmy John's, and there's now a Jersey Mike's that opened up. So they're going to continue to add those little strip malls to take care of that Egan area.
Ron, we have a couple of off-season winners from an Alec Lewis article and kind of what it sounds like for Bob Tunyon, but also Dwight McGlothern. Have you seen anything from him, either from just what you know of him in college, or if you did get to check him out at OTAs at all, that would maybe imply that he is fighting his way onto the roster as an undrafted rookie?
No, I have not seen much of that. To be honest, when I was there those couple of days, I only went twice. I was really kind of watching, to be honest, I was watching Sam Darnold to see what he looked like. Like I talked about on the show with Sam, I think before, I didn't realize that Josh McCown, I knew he was on the coach, but I kind of forgot until he ran up and kind of almost tackled me. So I was talking to him. And so then the next time I was watching his quarterbacks, his conversations with the quarterbacks and how they operate, what they're doing. But I think that's the biggest takeaway I had. The Tunyon piece, no problem. The Tunyon piece, I would say I was watching Tunyon and N'Keal Harry. I was really trying to see who's going to be the H, who's going to be the Y. I got a little bit of intel about how they do their playbook and stuff. And so I was kind of dialed into that. I haven't seen much else. I think training camp is when I really will dive into a lot of these rookies. And because that's when we saw Ivan Pace. That's when we got to see, before Caleb Evans. So, for me, it's the Kyrie Jackson. By the way, I still haven't given you my $20 person you need to donate to. But Kyrie Jackson and
somebody beat you to that, actually.
Who was that?
I forget, but somebody in the replies got there before we did the show, so they got the donation.
Who they pick? Kyrie Jackson?
Yeah, somebody else picked Kyrie Jackson. Yeah.
Son of a gun. They didn't really want. They stole it from me. They heard
They
me
did.
talk about it before.
I forget what charity they picked,
They
but
knew.
You're the influencer, Ron.
you can scroll back in my timeline if you want to see it.
They cheated.
Receipts are
No,
there.
but yeah, no, I that's when training camp is when I kind of really watch. Nothing against OTAs and mini camps. And again, I've been in this situation. I don't put a grain of salt to like certain people jumping up in the depth chart because the coaches really haven't put stuff together yet. And I think that's the end of it. Like I've gone into training camps as the sixth guy and it ended up being the second guy. So that's, for me, I'd rather see what training camp looks like because then the coaches, not to say they don't want to show their hand right now, but then the coaches really have to kind of put the guys together who are going to be out there. Like right now, they're getting a feel for it. But this next, like I say, 2 weeks they get off. 3 weeks leading up to training camp is when the coaches have to get serious and start putting something together because when the guys come back, they're going to have to put the ones out there, then the twos out there, and then the threes out there. Then we'll get a better idea of what they're going to do.
One thing that's kind of intriguing to me is that a couple of coaches have come out and said that the nature of roster construction changes because of the new kickoff rule. So players that you may have had under the old kickoff rule aren't rosterable under the new kickoff rule because of different body types and stuff like that. Yep. Have we seen anything that would kind of give us a good direction on what that might look like for these bottom of the roster players? Because obviously, like, this matters for players, not just like Najee Thompson, but for, like Dallas Gant and a bunch of these other linebackers, maybe Brian Asamoah, CJ Ham. It matters a lot for those group of players that are not going to be seeing the field every snap from scrimmage.
Yeah, it sucks for the bigger DN type guys because those were the guys that would get that extra roster spot for special teams when you think about kickoff and the wedge and running down. Now, yeah, you're going to see a little bit more skill guys. Sorry for the fire truck. You got hot
what
takes.
What did you do, Ron?
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
We're sitting in a fire truck over here with the hot takes. When you look at the players and the way they have to be constructed with being able to be a little bit more mobile, I think you're going to see. I think Brian Flores already has maxed out the number of DBs you can have, but maybe you'll see some faster linebackers being used. Maybe, like I said, a guy like N'Keal Harry, that kind of stuff. Those are the guys that, like I said, I was high on N'Keal Harry before. Sam, you remember that? And everybody made fun of me and said, "Oh, you said he was going to be a red zone threat." I thought he could be. Like, I wasn't lying. But now I'm going to go back on the N'Keal Harry train. I think he can be
for an entirely different reason.
Yeah,
for an entirely different reason. Tight end, but I think he can become a special teams guy with these new rules. Like, again, if guys are going to be chasing and blocking, you're going to want a little bit more athletic guys versus some of the bigger, stronger guys you had before. And I still think guys like CJ Ham and Najee Thompson, it's definitely space for them. It's some of those, like if you have like a 6 DN, that's the guy that now it might be like, maybe we might go to another linebacker. Like it's gonna get interesting this year with that.
Ron, you've got to go, and we're up against the clock. So get back in there to TCO, and we'll see you on the round table tomorrow.
All right, free Kirk Cousins. We already know what happened.
At 3, Ron Johnson. We'll see you, Ron. And we've got to run on the Minnesota Football Party. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll talk to you on Monday.